You write a two-sentence email. You read it, you delete a word. You add an exclamation point so you don't sound too aggressive. You read it again. You hesitate for another 10 seconds. Finally, you hit send. And then, you wait. The agonizing wait. Or maybe it's a social interaction. You say something slightly awkward at a dinner party, and for the next 3 days, you replay it in your head, cringing at your own memory. You feel that familiar, sickening drop in your stomach when a colleague replies to your carefully crafted message with a single letter, K. You are a rational, independent adult. You pay taxes. You make complex life decisions. You navigate the heavy responsibilities of modern life. Yet a micro-expression of disapproval from a coworker or a stranger on the internet can completely hijack your nervous system and ruin your entire week. Why? In this video, we are going to decode the exact psychological mechanism that forces us to care so deeply about what other people think. We'll explore why this isn't a personality flaw, but rather an ancient survival glitch. And we'll look at a 2,000-year-old framework used by a Roman emperor to become completely untouchable to the opinions of the masses. By the end of this video, you will look at the people judging you in a completely different light, and you'll know exactly how to reclaim your mental real estate. But to understand how to stop caring, we first have to realize a deeply uncomfortable truth. The opinions you are so terrified of might not even exist in the first place. Meet Alex. Alex is sitting in a crowded, cold, open-plan meeting room. For the last 2 weeks, Alex has been working on a bold, unconventional idea for a new project. It's good, really good. The moment arrives. The floor is open for suggestions. Alex leans forward, taking a sharp breath, preparing to speak. But then, out of the corner of their eye, a senior colleague across the table sighs and checks their watch. Another manager looks slightly impatient, tapping a pen against a notebook. Suddenly, the physical urge to speak up goes to war with a physiological panic. What if they think it's a stupid idea? What if they judge it? What if this damages Alex's professional reputation? What if they all silently agree that Alex doesn't belong in this room? The window of opportunity slowly closes. Alex exhales and stays silent. A moment later, someone else presents a completely safe, mediocre idea. The room politely nods in agreement. The meeting ends. Walking back to the desk, Alex feels a familiar, heavy emptiness. It's the profound exhaustion of living a ghost life. A life designed entirely to appease the imaginary thoughts of people we don't even deeply respect. Why do we do this to ourselves? We do this because we hold a false belief. We believe that if we can just perfectly manage how everyone sees us, we will finally feel safe. We think, if they have a good opinion of me, I am valued. If I am valued, I am worthy. But this behavior fails completely, because it is an unwinnable game. You are attempting to control the uncontrollable. When you care too much about what others think, you are voluntarily handing over the remote control of your emotional state to a crowd of confused, anxious people who are also just trying to figure out their own lives. To understand why letting go of this habit is so incredibly difficult, we have to look closely at the machinery of your brain. Your brain is currently running software designed for a world that no longer exists. Psychologists call this an evolutionary mismatch. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, if you lived in a small tribe and the group disapproved of you, you were ostracized. You were cast out of the safety of the fire. And in the wild, being ostracized didn't just mean a bruised ego. It meant isolation, starvation, and literal death. Your brain has not evolved past this. When you perceive social rejection today, even if it's just a passive-aggressive email, it registers in the primal areas of your brain not as a mild inconvenience, but as a physical threat. That's why your heart races when you feel judged. Your biology is literally screaming at you to conform so you don't die. Add to this a psychological phenomenon known as the spotlight effect. Because you are the center of your own universe, your brain naturally, but incorrectly, assumes you are the center of everyone else's universe, too. We dramatically overestimate how much people notice our flaws, our mistakes, or our actions. We walk around the modern world feeling like a harsh, theatrical spotlight is tracking our every move. But what if we could step out of that light? 2,000 years ago, the most powerful man in the world struggled with this exact same anxiety. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of the Roman Empire. He had absolute power. He commanded armies and ruled over millions. Yet, in his private journals, sitting alone in a war tent, he wrestled constantly with the heavy burden of public opinion. He worried about his reputation. He felt the weight of judgment. Eventually, through the philosophy of Stoicism, he came to a realization that changed his life, and he wrote this down. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. Marcus realized that placing your self-worth in the minds of others makes you foolishly illogical. You are handing the keys to your happiness to strangers. Another ancient thinker, Epictetus, who, unlike Marcus, spent much of his life as a slave, taught a foundational concept known as the dichotomy of control. Epictetus observed that almost all human suffering comes from trying to control things that are not strictly ours to control. Modern culture tells you the opposite. It tells you to manage your brand, to curate your image, and to carefully control your optics. Stoicism tells you a harder, but infinitely more liberating truth. You cannot manage other people's minds, so you must stop trying. This brings us to the ultimate, counterintuitive illusion of judgment. Remember the spotlight effect? When you are obsessing over what someone else is thinking about you, what are they actually thinking about? Here is the truth that changes everything. They aren't thinking about you. They are thinking about themselves, and they are worrying about how they appear to you. When you feel terrified of judgment, you are rarely reacting to actual facts. Through a psychological mechanism called theory of mind, your brain hates uncertainty, so it fills in the blanks. And what does it fill the blanks with? Your own deepest insecurities. You don't fear their thoughts. You fear your own self-doubt, projected onto the blank faces of the people around you. You feel like you are attached to invisible strings, being controlled by a faceless crowd. But if you look closely, that crowd isn't watching you. They are all staring down at their own hands, terrified of the strings they are holding themselves. Their opinion of you doesn't exist in the way you fear it does. It is merely a reflection of their own internal world. So, how do we practically apply this ancient answer to our modern lives? How do you sever the strings and take the remote control back? The next time you find yourself paralyzed by what someone might think, pause. Ask yourself Epictetus's question, is this within my control? The answer will always be no. You can control the quality of your work. You can control the kindness of your words. You can control the integrity of your actions. You cannot control how it is received. Accept that some will like you, some will misunderstand you, and some simply won't care at all. Treat other people's opinions like the weather. You wouldn't apologize for it raining. You wouldn't try to negotiate with a thunderstorm. You simply put up an umbrella and go about your day. Let their opinions be the weather. You remain the mountain. When Alex finally realizes this, everything shifts. In the very next meeting, Alex takes a breath, leans forward, and speaks up. Not because the fear is entirely gone. Biology doesn't disappear overnight, but because the fear is no longer in charge. Alex stops trying to manage everyone's perception and accepts a fundamental truth. True freedom requires the willingness to be misunderstood. You will never be free as long as you let the imaginary thoughts of strangers dictate the reality of your life. Stop handing the pen to other people. It's your story. You are the only one who gets to write it. The crowd is too busy worrying about their own reflection to ever truly judge yours. If you knew with absolute certainty that no one would judge you for it, what is the one thing you would change about your life tomorrow?